Oh, 1, 2, test, 1, 2, test, testing. All right, what's up, guys? It's your boy. Get this right here. Oh yeah, here we go. Now we're talking. Okay. All right, let's get that out of the shot, maybe. Okay. What up? What up? What up? Let's get some people in here. I don't know if anyone's watching, and if they are, can you give me some feedback? Am I muted, or what's going on? Let me see something here. I can check this out. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
I'm live. You can hear everything. It's great. Okay, guys, cool. Cool, man. Well, hey, thanks for showing up for my very first live stream, very first guitar lesson. It's 10:30 a.m. over here in Houston, and uh, I wanted to go live for the first one just to kind of say that um, I wanted to keep this channel organic, somewhat organic. Some things are going to be planned out, but honestly, we're just going to go with the flow of things, and I'll try to give you guys the best advice I have for the lesson. Um, Other than that, this mess of wires just looks ridiculous down here, doesn't it? I don't want you guys to see that. I want you guys to know how messy I am. So we'll fix that. We'll figure this out. Give me a second. Let's see here. This just looks hideous. Oh. I'm going to share this to Facebook for all my Facebook friends. Because that's where I get most of my love. Oddly enough. Facebook. Okay. So, I'm only going to do this lesson once. It's the most rudimentary beginner lesson I'm going to do, because I just figured if I'm going to start guitar lessons, my first one might as well be with the very basics of it all. A couple rules of thumb, a couple things I wish I would have heard or been told when I first picked up the guitar. And maybe I was told this, but it must have slipped somewhere and I had to figure it out on my own. Although, I still look to other guitarists for inspiration and knowledge. So I'm not just giving you guys stuff that, oh well, I figured it out on my own and now I'm going to teach it. It is a lot of that, but also it's a lot of passed down knowledge, which is the best kind. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today, before you can even start playing, your guitar has to be in tune. So the few things about your guitar being in tune that I wish I would have been told were, you always want to make sure that you're in tune before you start playing, or else you're just wasting your time and you're honestly, training your ears with bad habits. So we always want to, be in tune. Now, if you're starting out, there is a couple of different types of tunings out there, but the best tuning, I think, to start out, I mean, it's obvious, is standard E tuning. Well, what is standard E tuning? Well, the first string should be tuned to E, and it should sound like this. Okay? Let's say you're a little flat. You go to tune your guitar, you have a tuner on, and you're a little flat. One of the other rule of thumbs, or I guess things that I wish what I would have been told, was always tighten your string to the pitch. So let's say I'm tightening my string to the pitch, and I go a little bit sharp. Oh, well, that's sharp. Let me wind it down. Okay, we're good. We're in tune. Wrong. Wrong-o. You're not good. What you've just done is you've created slack in your machine head up here on this winding, okay? You've created a little bit of slack. So now when you go to fret a chord, or maybe, you know, what'll happen is you'll go flat. Now I think this Gibson's holding up, but you always want to tighten your strings to pitch. So back on the names of the strings and the order of the strings of standard E tuning, you got standard E, the low E string, to A, okay, to D, to G, to B, to the final string, which is also E. Okay? So we've got E, A, D, G, B, E. I'll do it with the strings now. E, A, D, G, B, E. I'll point to the machine heads as I do it now. E, excuse me, E, A, D, come around, G, B, E. So go ahead and create a little acronym if you want for that. I think one that I've heard is every awesome dude gets better every time. You know, ad lib, whatever you want in there to make yourself memorize that. I don't know if I have a live feed or if I can view comments on here. It's my first time kind of getting to understand. Oh, okay, here we go. I think I have comments turned off. And it's going to be under music. One second, guys. Okay, so I just updated some things on the stream. Yeah, Devin, I bet you do need some new strings for your guitar. Come on, man. If you're playing it right and you're playing it enough, if you're playing your guitar enough and you're playing it right, or as much as you should be, you should need a new pair of strings every month. Should need a new pair of strings every month. If you listen now, see, this is what I was talking about earlier. Okay, if you listen to the pitch of my E string, it's a little flat compared to So what had happened is I didn't tighten to the pitch. I had went sharp a little bit, right? God, my hair is being crazy this morning. Just took a shower, guys, and didn't really do anything to my hair, and it's just being stupid. Oh gosh. So, anyways, if you don't tighten to pitch, it's going to go flat. It's going to create slack, and the next time you play a little lick on it, the string's going to go flat. Now, tuning by ear is another concept. Okay, so once you know the names of the strings, if you don't have a tuner, which it's super easy to get a tuner, guys, by the way, I can recommend at least one app right now. It's called Guitar Tuna. Okay, I'll show you the little, there it is, Guitar Tuna. As I play my E, you know, it uses the microphone on the phone to tune the guitar. And it'll tell you your standard E tuning, but there's a way you can tune by ear. I recommend this. This is a great part of the first lesson, I think. Your 5th fret, okay? So if you know how to count frets, you got, 0, which is the white little nut here, the open ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Repeat. Okay, the guitar repeats at the 12th fret. Another great bit of knowledge that I wish I would have learned from the get-go was that the guitar just repeats in octave with every string at the 12th fret. So, what you can do is as long as you get that low E tuned right. So what I used to do is I'd come into a jam session when I first started playing with like my cousin, and his guitar would be in tune. He had a tuner, and I don't think I would use one at the very beginning. I would just tune by ear, and let me tell you, ear training is extremely important to music. But I would get in there, and I would say, hey, play me your low E string. So I'd find that pitch. And once I got that, that was it, because I know this little system that I'm about to show you right here. It's a great little tuning system. You're going to use the 5th fret for most of the strings. In fact, all but one. But anyways, so what you'll do is you'll get that low E in pitch, and now fret that low E on the 5th fret, and you should be playing an A, which is the next string that you're going to be tuning. So you can match pitch of your next string. Let's say it's flat. So your low E is in tune. There's your 5th fret of your E, which is an A now. You go to play your A string. So once again, I tighten to pitch. I tighten my string. I didn't go sharp and then loosen it a little bit. And it's still a little flat. So now you can go down to the next string. Now that it's in tune, now it's playing an A. You can fret that 5th fret and go down. Okay? So hopefully you have your guitar at home or your notebook or whatever. But once again, the 5th fret on the A string should play a D now. Remember the A string order? E, A, D. So the 5th fret on the A string should be a D note. It is. It shouldn't. It's not that it should. It is. Okay. Now we go to our D string and fret the 5th fret, and that's going to be a G. Lo and behold, that's the note that we're playing next, or the string that's coming up next. So I can hit them in unison, the D and the G, these two strings, and the tone is pretty similar. Now, the only difference on this little, so as we go down, we can do the 5th fret, but now when we get to the G string, we have to go to the 4th fret. We have to go a half step back for the B string, okay? So half step just means 1 fret, okay? That's another thing you're going to eventually need to learn. You'll hear me say that a lot eventually. So we need to be playing the 4th fret to tune down for the B string, okay? So there's my B. There's my B string. There's my B on the G string. There's my open B string. Sorry. One more time. There's the B on the G string. There's my open B. Similar? Sound good? Okay, move on. Now we go back to the 5th fret to end it all up. See? And to be honest, my high E might be a little flat, or my B string could be sharp. But it's not much, and it's not that important right now. So that's how you tune by ear. That's how I learned how to tune by ear right off the bat. Now, there's other ways, and there's some people would consider better, like if you have a lot of distortion or a lot of gain on the harmonics. So harmonic way of tuning is kind of the same concept, but we'll get into harmonics later. That's not something I want to talk about for the very first lesson, okay? So that's how you tune by ear. Now, quickly, let me go down some guitar anatomy for you. Whether you have an electric or an acoustic at home, some of these things will be similar, okay? But I'll go down the electric anatomy, okay? So when I say something, you know what I'm talking about. Starting off at the very bottom, we've got, what would you call these? Your strap lock or your strap holder or your whatever. It's going to hold your guitar strap. Here you've got your input jack. It's where you put your cable or your jack, right? It's the input jack. It's where you plug your guitar in, okay? Always want to find that hole and, you know, be as gentle as you can. Here you've got your, well, before I get into that, let me get into this. Here you've got your stop bar tailpiece. Here you've got your tunematic bridge. That's like a iconic bridge that Gibson created, okay? Or Gretsch, they took it from him, but I don't want to get into that history yet. Then we've got our pickups, okay? We've got our bridge pickup. Why? Because it's right next to the bridge, okay? It's our lead tone pickup, okay? It's where all the solos and all the cool stuff happens, all right? Then we've got our neck pickup, or otherwise known as the rhythm pickup. Okay, it's going to be a lot more bassy, and people will use this to play the rhythm parts of their songs. Okay, you've got your pick guard or scratch plate. Okay, here you've got your pickup selector. This is going to let you choose which pickup. So up is going to be the neck, down is going to be the bridge. Okay, middle is going to engage both of those. Down here, we're going to have our tone and volume pots for each, or knobs, I guess you can call it, for each pickup. So the front ones, these two front ones right here, I like to call them the front because they're the first things that your hands meet. Just like the configuration of the pickups, the top one is the volume for the neck pickup. Okay, and this back one right behind it is the tone for the neck pickup. So what does the tone do? Well, there's the tone all the way up, and then here's the tone cut all the way back. So hopefully y'all heard the difference there. It's not much of a difference on the neck pickup in particular, but it does kind of give it more of a nasally, creamier tone. Now, same concept, we flip to the bridge pickup, volume, and then the tone. Hopefully y'all can hear a little bit of a difference here. Here's the tone jacked all the way up. And then here's the tone rolled all the way back. So anybody and people use a number of tones for their songs, and it just depends on what the song calls for. But most of the time, people don't have these things blasted all the way up. And if they do, they've got something else going on in their circuitry with their amp or their pedals that's kind of taking the top end of that treble away, because there's something about extremely high gain and blasting the bridge pickup with full tone, especially with a lot of older guitars, that they're just too harsh for the ears. So, but you'll find a lot of guitar enthusiasts that say, man, all you ever need is this pickup. And it's true. It really is. Cut the tone back just enough, and you're pretty much playing on the neck pickup in a way, but it's still a little bit more articulate. So I'm a big fan of the bridge pickup, but it is what it is, okay? So let's move on with the anatomy. We've got our other guitar strap pin here, whatever you would call that. I don't know why I can't tell you the name of that right now. We've got our neck. Okay. The neck is the back, is this piece, okay? This is the neck. You've got your fretboard, which is this wood. This is made of rosewood, okay? You've got binding all the way around the guitar. Not every guitar is going to have it, but this one does have binding, okay? In the frets, and on the odd number of the frets, and on the 12th fret, you're going to see little, especially on the binding, you're going to see fret markers, okay? Those are called fret markers. They're kind of good little visual points that you can just easily, kind of like a piano in a way. You see the black and the white keys. You can kind of find your place visually, and so use your fret markers, okay? After your fret markers, you've got your actual frets. Well, what are frets? The frets are actually these little metal bars, okay? So that's a fret. Okay, and we'll get into more about frets later. Going upward, though, we have the nut, this white little piece right here, this white strip. It's like another bridge. It's like the second bridge, if you will. Okay, so we've got our nut up at the top. Then we've got a truss rod cover or plate. Well, what's a truss rod? Trussrod. A truss rod is a metal bar, okay, kind of that runs through the middle of this neck. Well, how do they get a metal bar to go in there? Well, before they lay this rosewood fretboard on top of this mahogany back neck, they install that bar in there. And what that bar does is it controls the shape of the neck, okay? So if we look at the neck like this, you can probably barely tell here, but it actually has a bow to it. It kind of concaves in a way. And it's supposed to. It's supposed to do like, let's see if I can, it's supposed to do like this number, okay? Not that exaggerate, of course. More so, I mean, it's the slightest little bow, and it's definitely, you definitely don't want it to be convex, okay? Because that's going to cause buzzing and ringing. So if you're playing some notes on your fretboard and you notice that a certain spot on the neck buzzes or the string buzzes out and just sounds bad and you can't really get the tone out of the string, that might mean that you have an unlevel fretboard. You might need to adjust your truss rod, or you might need to do some fret work, okay? Meaning maybe they didn't sand some of the frets down enough, or they didn't hammer it in right, or gosh knows, whatever they did wrong to your guitar. But I went through years and years of playing lower quality guitars that had those problems. And finally I was able to get my hands on a custom shop, and it was just set up perfect from the shop. And also I've done countless, hours of trying to understand setting up guitars and intonation and stuff like that. So if you don't know what that stuff is, it's okay. We'll have other videos on that. But let's get back to the anatomy. So this is a truss rod cover. Okay, it covers the access to the nut or bolt or access to adjusting that truss rod. When you tighten it clockwise, it does that convex concept where it pushes up. So if your guitar is bowing too much, it's got too much of a bow, you want to tighten it to bring it a little more straight. The truest concept that everybody really wants is a straight neck. Okay, they want a straight neck, but it has to back bow just a little bit for the strings to ring out. Now, all that stuff changes when you change string gauges, and we'll talk about string gauges another time, which just means thickness of strings. So yeah, the concept is to keep it straight. Okay, moving on past the truss rod, up here, this whole piece up here is called the headstock. Okay, that's your headstock. And then finally, you've got your machine heads. Okay, and I'll give you a back view of what those look like, at least these Kluson original machine heads look like. Okay, so, and those are obviously to tune your guitar. Now, back to the first lesson. I'd say we're a little bit out of tune right now. Let's go ahead and just tune up. Never hurts to tune up, guys. Never hurts to be in tune. In fact, like I said, if you're not in tune, what are you doing? I guess I am in tune. I guess the A was a little sharp, but whatever. If you're not in tune, what are you doing? Okay? You got to be in tune, man. Because then your chords aren't going to sound right, and then you're training your ear for the wrong sounds. So let's get back to try to wrap this up here. Okay? We're going to talk about 2 chords. Okay? Maybe a third if I'm feeling generous. But 2 chords, because I don't know how much your brain can process right now if you're a real beginner. You just soaked in a lot of information. You're probably still tuning your guitar. I don't know. But the first chord I think that everyone should learn, there's a couple of first ones, but I think one of the good first ones to learn is the E chord. Now, the first chord I'm going to show you is the open chord version of this chord. It's the E chord, okay? That's what we're going to call it. I'm going to show you the E major, and I'll show you how to make it a minor chord as well. So you'll be learning the E major and the E minor if you stay tuned with me and you're playing along, or you go back and rewatch this and learn it. First chord, E major. Why is it called an E major? Well, let's think about the order of the strings that we just learned. E, A, D, G, B, E. Well, it's rooted on the low E string, okay? And the fingering, just to kind of help you out, if you're going to be learning chords and chord charts, each one of your fingers has a name or a number assigned to it, okay? Index is 1, middle is 2, ring is 3, and pinky is 4, okay? So you got to be able to learn, yeah, and that's about as simple as, I can't explain that any further. 1, 2, 3, 4, count to 4. Those are the finger names, okay? So you're going to take 2 and 3, and what I like to say is if you ever watch Spider-Man or ever learned to rock out, take that little grip right there. You're going to take 2, put it on your A string, 2nd fret, and you're going to take 3, finger number 3, and put it on your D string, 2nd fret. So notice my hands at a little bit of an angle so that they can kind of stack on top of each other, okay? And with just those 2 pressed down, let's walk down the first 4 strings, okay, from the heavy side. So E, this one you can actually strum all the way through, all 6 strings. Well, Tommy, and if you know guitar and you know chords, you're like, why did you teach him such a depressing chord for the first chord ever? Well, that's the minor chord. That's an E minor. Okay? Because it involves the minor third note. Well, what's that? We'll get into that later. But I'm going to show you how to make it a major chord. And the reason it's going to be a major chord now is because it's going to involve the major third note in the scale. Okay? And that's going to be right here. So readjusting, it's really not much of a change. Same fingers, middle finger or 2 on the 2nd fret A string, ring finger or 3 on the 2nd fret D string, and you're going to put your index finger, it's going to fall naturally right there on the 1st fret G string. So I'll arpeggiate, which means to play the notes of a chord individually, okay? I'll arpeggiate this chord, and I'm going to walk down it like this. Now, you might be trying to fret this at home, and it might sound like this, or it might sound like this. Things don't sound right for me, Tommy. What's going on here? Well, I was just talking about arpeggiating the chord because it's a very important part of the process. Now I'm going to show you an angle that's pretty important here. Okay, I hope it'll work out. Your fingers have to have a beautiful arch, because when you start, look at this, when you start getting lazy and letting your fingers crinkle up like this or do that number, beautiful arch, that number, bad habit. Now you're going to see that. It's going to happen a lot for certain chords, but for these open chords, you really want to have this big, beautiful arching fingers, because what will happen is the fat or the skin from maybe your ring finger might be touching this G string. So your ring finger's on this D string, happy, fretting away, but the skin from your finger might be interrupting the flow of vibrations for your G string. Okay? So there you go. Now, when you arpeggiate it, that'll help you. Oh, okay, it's my G string that's sounding off. It's my major third note in the chord that is not ringing out. Let me fix that. Oh, get a more beautiful arch here. And there's your E. It sounds nice and pretty. E major. Take your index finger off. E minor. Put it back on. Major. Take it off. Minor. Major. Minor. Major E. E minor. Okay? So that's the first chord. I'll show you one more. It's the A chord. See what I'm doing here? We learned our order of the strings was E, A, D, G, B, E. Now the first chord you learned was an E chord, major and minor. Now we're going to learn the A chord, major and minor, okay? So it's going to be a little bit different, but almost the same thing. Do me a favor and take that Spider-Man or that rock and roll grip again. Take your 2nd finger and put it on your 2nd fret D string this time, and your ring finger on the 2nd fret G string this time. Now, why is it called an A chord? Well, why was the E chord called an E chord? Because we're starting the strum off the root note. And the root note is this open ringing A. So I'll show you an A minor first. And an A minor is funny because it's that exact, remember the shape? I'm going to slide my fingers up a step to show you the E major. E major, and you take that exact shape down, a set of strings. So you've got open A string, middle finger or 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, ring finger or third finger on the second fret of the G string, index finger on the first fret of the B string, and let that bottom string ring open, okay? So now you'll have an A minor. You say you will love me till the end of time. Da 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 da. When you will be mine. That's a Beatles song right there. So those two chords can just show you a Beatles song. Well, I'm not done yet. We learned the A minor. Well, what's an A major? What's an A major, Tommy? Well, it's very simple. We're going to take this index finger off because, and honestly, you could leave it. But what's going to happen is we're going to take this pinky and stack it on the same fret. And that's going to, I'm probably making this look a little bit easier than it really is, but it's not really that hard. You're thinking, well, how can I fit 3 fingers inside of 1 fret? They're just wider than the fret. Well, that's when you kind of got to start stacking. So an A major chord, A major open chord is going to be the same thing, but we're going to add the major third, minor third, major third. A minor, add the major third, A major. Now, I said you can keep your finger there on that first fret of the B string because it's not going to be able to make a tonal difference. Why? Because our pinky finger is cutting off the tone right here on the second fret, so this first fret is now inactive. Okay? I used to do this thing where I'd play guitar around my friends a lot, and they would just get tired of hearing it. And eventually to the point where they would just come and put their hand on my neck and say, "Stop playing." And when I saw them coming for that, I'd be playing a chord. Well, if they grab it right here, I'm screwed, right? I can't play anything. So I'd see them coming, and I would just start. I start playing down here because I knew they'd come grab right here. And anything you do over here on the G string or anything that's being pressed down in front of something is not going to make noise. Okay, so that was cool. That's a cool little just realization. So you've got your E minor. Once again, let's go over things. E minor, starting from the low E string. E major, add the major third. Now we've got our A minor. Take that same shape, bring it down a set of strings, and start strumming from the A string now. Don't touch that E string. If you notice, my thumb is wrapping around, okay? And it's kind of muting. I'm not pressing down. I'm just letting it touch the string enough to where it mutes it, okay? So when you play the A chord, watch out. You don't want to add that low E note on top because it doesn't sound good. Now, it doesn't sound bad, and in fact, there is a chord. It's like a first inversion of the chord. First inversion, where you do add, like, I don't know, that would be what? The 5th note in the scale. So I think when you add the 5th note in the major scale on top of the root note of the chord, it's considered a first inversion. Don't quote me on that 100% yet, but I'm pretty sure that's what a first inversion is. There's first, second, third, fourth inversions, I believe. But yeah, I typically only know, or only use one of those most of the time. So be careful when you're strumming that A, that you're strumming from the A string. Look down here. From the A string down. Okay? I'm going to strum from the A string down on the A chord. Okay? A minor. Add the major third. Look, the major third is just a half step away from the minor. Here's the minor third. Major third. A minor. A major. Okay? So you've essentially just learned 4 chords, but we'll be honest, you learned 2. You learned 2 chords. So why not? You know what? I wanted to do the first one as an hour video. Let's throw in a third and final pivotal chord. I really like this chord and it falls in line with the order of strings that I'm doing. The E, A, D, G, B, E. So we've learned the E chord, right? Major and minor. We've learned the A chord, minor and major. Now let's go to our D chord, just like the third string. And I say third string. Let me talk about something else really quick. Guitar tab books and the internet and honestly everybody professionally like references this high E string as the first string. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, low E. Okay, and I wonder the third and final pivotal chord. I really like this chord, and it falls in line with the. I want to hear if my give me a second, guys. I'm going to listen to if my guitar is registering through this mic. D, G, B, E. So we learned the E chord, right? Major and minor. We've learned. Sorry, I know this is bad. Minor and major. I just have to do this, guys. I don't have anybody else helping me. To our D chord, just like the third string. And I say third string. Let me talk about something else really quick. Guitar tab books and the internet and honestly everybody professionally like references this high E string. Okay, we're coming through the mix. Perfect. That's all I had to hear was that note. Got a bit of a delay for my live stream. But, okay, stick with me, guys. They reference this high E string as string number 1. And all the way to 6 being the low E string. You're going to hear me say the first string or the third string down. And I'll try to say the word down afterwards because I like to count from the top, or at least what my eyes meet first. So, bam, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my way. But for reference, when you hear people talking about the first string, they're typically talking about this guy. Okay. So anyways, going back down the chords and the string names, we've got E. We learned the E minor and major rooted chords. We got the A string. We learned the A minor and major chord. Now we're going to focus on the D. What is a D chord? What's the fingering for the D chord? It's easy. You're going to take number 1, your index finger, put it on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string or the G string. Notice how I called it the 3rd? Get properly. 1, 2, 3. Counting from the bottom. Okay, but anyways, index finger, finger number 1 on your 2nd fret, G string. Okay. Now take your middle finger. You're going to turn your hand a little sideways for this one, okay? A little vertical rather than, sorry, not sideways, but vertical. And you're going to take, so remember we've got index finger on 2nd fret G string. middle finger on the 2nd fret, high E, or the 1st string. And then your ring finger is going to reach around, just do a little stretch above these guys. It looks crazy. It's really not. It might feel a little uncomfortable at first. And it's going to reach onto that B string, 3rd fret. Okay, right on that fret marker, that big, beautiful trapezoid inlay that we've got there. Okay, we're going to come, and it's a D chord. Why? Because remember, we're fretting from, or we're strumming from the D string, which is the root note or the tonic of this chord or scale, whatever. It's the low octave. It's the name of the chord. It is what it is. Now, you might think that I'm just strumming all these strings here. Look at what my thumb's doing. My thumb is coming around and making sure to mute the low E string for sure. Now I don't know about my A string if that's ringing out, but if that does end up ringing out, it does kind of just count as an inversion. But either way, you want to be strumming from the D string down. So there's an arpeggiated version of it. Remember, do this at home with your chords to make sure that every note is ringing out perfect if you're having a problem. But also just do it because you're going to eventually need to. Songs don't always just strum the chords. Sometimes they... And I won't play the rest of that. So, you get me there? You're going to need to eventually pick out all the notes in your chords to learn songs. Okay, so we've got the D. And what this note added is, so I just showed you a D major, okay? So it's got the major 3rd. Well, just like all the other chords, the minor 3rd is going to be just a half step down. So to fret the D minor, do me this solid. Take your index finger and put it on the 1st string, 1st fret, or the high E string, 1st fret. Okay? Then take your ring finger and put it on your 3rd fret, B string. Now we're going to go up to the 3rd string, or that G string, and put our middle finger, it's going to want to fall naturally here, on the 2nd fret G string. You know, say, oh, my hands are just hurting to stretch all these stretches. It's just, guitar's not for me. Stop. Okay? Stop telling yourself you can't. You can, and it is for you. When I first started playing, yes, I felt like this isn't for me. This isn't for me. My hands aren't meant for this. They're not big enough. They're too small. Whatever excuse it was. But you know, like Stevie Ray Vaughan says, man, if you love the sound enough, if you're passionate enough, you'll fight through whatever pain to make that sound come out of the guitar. And eventually, you fight that pain enough to where not only do you build calluses on your fingertips, so your fingers. So when you're learning, you know, like. Your first time learning a bending solo, you know, something like that. It was very basic. But, you know, you start bending those strings, especially on lower quality guitars, they're harder to play. The action, meaning the string height, the distance from the strings to the fretboard, is higher. So it's harder to push them down the lower you go on the neck or the higher you go on the neck. And when you're constantly straining just to push something down, now imagine doing a really technical walk or a bend or, you know, bending to pitch and stuff like that. So, yeah, you don't want to give up too soon is what I'm saying. You're going to feel the pain, but I promise you within just a week or two, that stuff goes away and you start, conditioning yourself to be a guitar player. And eventually you start to realize, oh my, people say, Why do you play guitar? Well, it feels good. Well, I just picked up a guitar and it doesn't feel good to me. Well, you know, they're not asking new players why they play the guitar. They're typically asking, successful professional musicians. So you can bet your bottom dollar that those guys have gone through everything you've gone through and didn't stop. Okay. And then you eventually get to a point where it does feel good. Okay. So man, these chords hurt me. Let's go back to that D minor and major. Okay. So I showed you the major version. And this chord's a bit more difficult because to play the minor, we don't just add a finger, which we can add a finger, but we don't just add. That would be like an add or a sus chord. To play the D minor, we have to change the whole configuration. So what really happens is these two notes stay the same. And instead of this major third, we play the minor third. So there's a D minor. Everything else is just a lot of memorization. I just don't keep coming back every day. I'll keep posting videos. If you play every day and you play with me every day, this will just become another language to you. And that's all it is. That's all music is. That's all music theory is, man. It's another language that you can learn to communicate amongst yourself and fellow musicians. I think one of the reasons I started wanting to teach or at least learn this stuff for myself was that I would go sit in a room with my friends who had guitars. And for years and years and years, nobody studied anything, or nobody really learned anything proper or any kind of musical language or, any kind of music theory that would help us kind of facilitate an actual jam session. And we would watch how-to videos on how to learn a song and stuff. Hey man, look at this little bit and piece of a song that I learned, And that was as far as we'd ever get. We'd learn that, and that was it. Move on to another song or whatever. And when everybody knows the same things, you can't really get in your room and jam together. You can't improvise off of each other. You can't, if you don't know how to, you're just playing around in the dark. So stop being stubborn. Wake up. If you want to be a guitarist or a musician, wake up and challenge yourself every day. Be hungry. Even if you eat like a bird, you got to eat, just a little bit, 30 minutes at least, and learn how to practice. You don't practice what you know, practice what you don't know. You divide your practice time with not all playing. You need to start out with just maybe ear training, learning how to hear things. Oh, that sounds like a major third or a minor third interval. Is that a major third interval or a minor third? I don't know. Start questioning yourself and then test yourself. Play the first and the fifth of a chord and guess what the major or the minor third is going to sound like. So it'll be, and I'm not a great singer. There's the minor third. So it's not about being able to sing it per se. It's just being able to, when you hear a chord, could you tell if that has the minor third in the involvement? Yeah, that's minor chord. Oh, that has the major third. So the difference of being able to hear a major and a minor third is just a half step. A very close tonality. So, it can get tricky, but the more complicated the chords get, the more complex your ear training will become. And that's going to help you for a lot of things. Okay. All these things go hand in hand. So start out with maybe some ear training. Go into, in fact, not maybe, but start out with ear training every day. Go into your music theory, learn scales, learn a scale in a certain key, and learn all the notes that are involved in that scale. There's typically only 7. Okay, in a major scale, there's 7 or 8 notes if you want to count the octave. Octave, octa, 8 notes. The 8th note is the octave. See some things lining up already here? So do that, okay? Start listening to all those intervals in a major scale, or the solfege, or the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So there's 8 notes, or 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, octave, 8, octave, root note, octave. So we can start the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do from the octave now. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. This is that major third. So this is a major scale we're walking down. That's that major third I'm continually talking about. So when I play this A chord and I add the major third, see? And when the minor third is a half step down. Let's take that same concept to that low E chord that I was showing you. Major third, minor third. Major third, minor third. Major third, minor third. You see that? Those chords sound the same, didn't they? It's because they are. It's a different type of chord. It's called a bar chord. And we'll get into that next. Dude, thank you guys for being so great and sticking around and actually watching this with me. Yeah, I like I said, I started all this because I wanted to be able to communicate in the language of music, and it's just been a great journey for me finding out who I am, and I think you can do it too. We just lack guidance or the people in our lives to do this for us and help us and teach us. I didn't have too many guitar playing friends, so it was all YouTube, and it was guys like Marty Schwartz who got me to where I am on YouTube. Shout out Marty Schwartz. And then it was guys like, and now it's guys like Rick Beato and still Marty Schwartz. I still watch Marty Schwartz videos. I watch a guy named Rick Beato a lot that I'm just smitten by. So find people that will allow you to talk about music and music theory. You know, so often I'd be talking about music, or I'd want to talk about music, or I'd want to play guitar for my friends or around my friends and learn music. And it was just, it's not what they wanted to do. So it would get shut down. And you got to find your people, man. You got to find the people that allow you to be you and do what you want to do. If guitar is what you want to do, I'm your people. I'll talk to you about it 24 hours a day. Either way, guys, stick around. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with another lesson, hopefully, continuing on this concept. And you've been great. Now, these lessons are good and pretty in-depth, but there's not going to be anything like an in-person lesson. So contact me on any one of my social medias for booking a lesson in person. Those are always the best. And I can really, call out your progress blockers. So once again, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Tommy Ross Music. We'll see you next time.